Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at creating a Heardle clone. So the first thing is, you'll see this. The main component is a password verification. So if someone, say, enters in the wrong password, like Kitty11, that's their password to get in somewhere. They click. If it's the wrong password, it tells them, and they have like 4 more attempts or something like that. So that's basically the core programming within Heardle is just password verification. So let's go ahead and get started. So that's kind of how I set it up. You'll see password here. And I just kind of want to impress this because even though we're coding this, you can still use the same code for like password verification for a website. So this isn't really a secret. So this is sort of redundant in here. I just copy and pasted and brought over code that we've already used. And I have a class over here. Now, class and style are one and the same. It's just a CSS function. So if you want to create a separate CSS file and put it all in one file to kind of clean this up, you can. But we're just doing something pretty basic over here. And I'll get into like why we're using this a little bit later when I start the coding. And I've created a form. So it's this part right here. And, you know, the label and ID and name, a submit button. And then we're going to have messages pop out down here. Like if they get it right, you win, or after 5 guesses, if they don't get it right, it gives them the answer, game over. I also put a normal button up here because, you know, the first clip is there, click, and they click it. You don't want all the clips there to begin with, because then they can just cheat and click all of them and then guess, and it takes away the game part of the game. So you want those buttons to appear after they get it incorrect, and we've already played with that element, so that's the copy and paste. All right, let's go ahead and get to scripting. Okay, so the first, what I did is I'm using let, okay? You might be able to get away with using const, but I used let. So I'm going to give them 5 chances, and so you'll see that play out as I code it. And it says let password, and I set it to Nirvana right here. Now, if you were really setting up passwords, what would happen is you would reference the database where their password is stored. So you'd have the JavaScript code access another piece of software on your computer that the user put into the database. And security in your database, if you were to look, you wouldn't see their actual password. You'd see a scramble. So in the code, it's made anonymous, and even on your end, you shouldn't be able to see it. If it's coded poorly, then yes, you will be able to see it, and I have seen some very poorly coded password retrievals. But anyways, we're just fixing this in place as the answer, so I just went with Nirvana. Okay, the next one is let form and query selector. Now, you know, this isn't anything new. You can name your variable anything you want, and this variable anything you want, but just to keep it consistent. So what this is doing is it's looking in the document, and it's going to query is kind of like ask of the selector. So it's going to be honing in on these HTML selectors right here. And you can see how they're sort of lined up right there. So it's already looking there. Okay, so what I did is I did a let submit buttons. Okay, so these are going to be submit buttons that are going to appear. And I do another document query selector, and I want it to find all of them. okay, because there's 4 of them. So I wanted to look for all of them, and I wanted to look for dot submit button, okay, because that's the class. The class is always identified as a dot in CSS, and in JavaScript, it's going to be looking for that. This designates that it's a class right here with a period in front of it. And next up, I am going to do a let result div, okay, and it's looking for, this is just, the naming convention I used. Now, we didn't really go over this, and so we're going to kind of side quest this a bit, but the hashtag results, and this is again identifying CSS, and what we didn't talk about is the use of a hashtag. So let me go ahead and show you what that would look like. You're used to creating style, so this is really nothing new. Usually you do this in a separate file. So like, let's say we wanted to change the body background or something like that, or change the body background font, all of that stuff. Okay, so what I would create is I would go hashtag, I'm just going to call it body, do my curly brackets, and I do background color blue. So background color blue. Okay, and you do a hashtag instead of a dot. Now, well, let me just vary this. I'm going to go BG color for background color. There you go, BG color. So it's like a class, but use a hashtag. So I want to style the body, so I do ID equals quote BG color, and that should turn it blue. There it is. Okay, so the reason why we didn't go over IDs is I didn't want to confuse that when you do JavaScript, you use ID, and when you can use ID in CSS. We didn't go over that because normally, just use class. Don't muddy up your IDs and all that. But it's important to know that you can do that because it applies to this right here. So hashtag result, it's looking for the ID of result because you're having it scan for CSS elements. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to add an event listener. So I do form add event listener, and I'm going to do a submit, which is tethered to the type of the button. Okay, and the function will be an event. Okay, so when you click the button, that's the event. Okay, so let me go ahead and finish this off. So it would be a curly bracket, parenthesis, and then semicolon, and then we got to fill in the guts with the Boolean. Now the event we're referring to right here is the prevent default method, and it's a way to make sure that they're not going to enter in any sort of like errant characters. So this kind of goes back to the whole password thing. So if you want your user to, let's say, you know how you enter a password and it's like, must have a capital letter, must have this, must have that. That's the prevent default method. So you can direct them to say, if they do enter in something, it'll pop up a message, it'll identify what they entered in, and it'll pop up a message and say, you must have an exclamation, or you must have a special character or something like that. So just kind of throwing this method in there to kind of show you, kind of go back to the whole password verification stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a variable and we're going to query the selector password, and that's up here. So the name, password. So we're going to query that selector, and we're just going to call it input, just to kind of, keep it consistent. And what it's going to do is it's going to look for whatever is entered in, and well, basically look for it. All right. So if input equals password, so if this equals this, I'm going to give it the curlies. Let's give it some room. And within the curlies, we're going to put result div enter text. Remember, result div is tied to this right here. Okay, result div enter text, and we're just going to say you win. So if they get the answer right, hey, you win. So then we need an else if, like what if they don't win? All right, so let me go ahead and put in the else if and the attempts. Since you're giving them 5, you gotta, basically state that you are going to give them 5. So it anticipates that it's going to have to do something and count up to 5 with it. Okay, what do we want to do with the attempts? It's going to start at 5. So attempts, it's going to be, we're telling it that we're going to look at this and it's greater than 5 or greater than 1. Okay, and we're going to increment down the attempts, so it's going to count down. So remember, plus plus is increment up, minus minus is increment down, and we're going to give them an alert. So every time they're wrong, there's going to be a little pop-up, and this is the statement we're going to make. And basically, the countdown is going to be reported here. So you do $, curly brackets, attempts. So it's going to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then submit buttons is, remember, we're clicking the submit button. And if the submit button length is less than attempts, so basically if they're wrong, you want to display a block. And this is what displays the submit button, so they can guess again. And I'm just going to submit in the else statement. So if it evaluates the false, so if they're wrong all of those times, remember that this is the attempts they get. Result enter text. So if they count down their 5 and they're done, it's going to say game over. The band was Nirvana. Okay, so just have a look and double check your code to make sure that all the little brackets are there and all of that stuff. The one thing I was looking at when I was coding this and I looked it up, some of the code I looked at and referenced, it uses a character right here. This isn't a normal quote right here. It isn't a normal single quote. It's actually, if you look at here, I'll give you the symbol right here. If you look at this symbol, the tilde, if you don't hold shift, it gives you this little guy right here. I don't know what that character is. Wacky quote, maybe. I don't know. But it gives you that. So you want to make sure that you use that little guy in there instead of a single quote. All right, let's take a look and see if this thing will work. So I'm going to put in Nirvana. And it says you win. All right. I'm just going to put in dummy data. And you can't see the alert with my screen recording, but it does say incorrect guess, 4 more chances. You can see the tail end of the pop-up right here. And then you hit OK, and it gives you another clip. So we're going to do this again. 3 more chances. And it counts down. 2 more chances. 1 more chance. It's plural. 1 more chances. You have to do extra coding to make it 1 more chance to make it grammatically correct, but we're just going to go ahead and overlook that. And then they play clip 5, and then submit your guess, and it says game over. The band was Nirvana. All right, that is the guts of your Heardle clone. Next up, we gotta figure out how to clip music files to each of these little guys, little clips of music.